Stephanie, and this is Talk Tales and Trivia, the show where I talk about society, culture, pop culture, and I sometimes bring in a little trivia too, so that you can stump your family and friends. It is so much fun. If you are a new listener here at Talk Tales and Trivia, I want to welcome you and thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoy this episode. So now everybody gather around, get your favorite beverage, sit down in that comfortable chair, and relax, listen, and enjoy this episode on A Place of Beauty. Before I begin this episode officially, I would like you to know that some of the things that are mentioned in this episode are my opinion, and some of the things are facts. So I hope that you enjoy this episode in knowing that. So here we go. Well, how long has it been that you've thought of beauty? Well, I mean real, unadulterated beauty, untouched beauty. Go outside and you'll see what I mean. Trees, grass, flowers. Well, maybe not all of us see this beauty. After all, this has indeed been a dark winter, but also a dark fall, a dark summer, and a dark spring, all in the past year. I want to think about what we all must look forward to and be grateful for. Perhaps it will make us feel better and hopefully a lot healthier and have a lot more fun than ever before. It's warmer weather and the outside is calling. The vitamin D from the sun alone will do you good and is a mood lifter. Well, you don't believe me? Investigate for yourself. But reach inside your town or city and you will find much more than depressed parts. Throughout a lot of overhaul from town officials and forward-thinking mayors, my city is wonderful and a place to be happy in. My fellow city dwellers have a place to go to get away, even if it's for an hour. We all want businesses to thrive, citizens on the streets where we cannot live in constant fear, but feel joy while outside in our community. Where I live, we are now starting to see blocks that are vibrant, colorful, and crowded with people meandering and looking at all the beauty. And there is so much to see if you really lift your head and see your fellow neighbors. Perhaps I've been not only excited about the spring weather, but also excited to see the eyes of the people, previously having no contact, previously socially staying apart, and previously becoming more and more unfriendly. Yes, the environment has taken a hit on humanity, but how we live is changing, and it brings me thoughts of seasons I will enjoy in the upcoming months, namely, being outside. I constantly remind myself that we are a nation of friendly, peaceful people. It kind of reminds me of Jane Jacobs, the activist who fought to keep her neighborhood and all the neighbors from not kowtowing to a highway impeding a part of New York City, wanting to desperately keep her city beautiful for the community, thus starting a sort of movement with her knowledge and activism. This brave woman wasn't backing down from her strong belief of goodness and what was right. Her belief was more than just her neighborhood. Jane Jacobs is heralded even today for the strides she made on the areas of togetherness within parks and beaches, restaurants, shops, and so much more. Jacobs would probably be an advocate of going outside and fresh air and no lockdowns because of its societal backlash. The distant, unfriendly, hidden facial expressions, yes, I'm quite sure Jane would oppose. And here's some good news about Jane Jacobs. Project for Public Spaces is an organization based in New York City that expanded on Jane Jacobs' theory of neighborhoods. Well, Jane Jacobs would be proud. This is what she always wanted. It says, "Know thy neighbor as thyself." in a book that is older than time. This has a basic and simplistic meaning at its core. It simply means to seek the well-being of any and every person around you, whether a literal next-door person or some stranger you just come across in your daily activities many miles from your home, rather than seeking their harm, seeking their good. So I will ask you, what is good in the world? Do we know? My dog knows. Yep, he uses his 5 senses, and so we shall too. He sniffs the trees, lifts his head to get fresh air in his nostrils, and loves Jeep rides with the top down, wind in his fluffy hair. It's the sign of lovely, warm weather. Using the 5 senses, as my dog does, gives you a picture of normalcy, even if where you live is still working on becoming beautiful once again. So let your 5 senses guide you to a happier place, because we need it more than ever right now. Yes, it is my belief neglect over the past year has become obvious, but it doesn't and won't stay that way. No, just like my little dog Frank, the people have spoken. We want our lives back. We want our communities back, and using the 5 senses in an outdoor setting is your best bet on happiness, health, and being social. Sadly, even now that the warm weather has come, there is the occasion that we go outside, and so we see discarded masks and other PPE on the ground, on benches, near fast food establishments, etc., etc. Yes, but is that how we want to live? Well, recently I came across an article telling a story that seems familiar to what I am talking about now. NBC Miami tells us the same thing. The use of PPE, otherwise known as personal protective equipment, has been a necessity for our well-being. But sadly, very sadly, not everyone is keen to discard PPE properly. And these actions are having a severe impact on our oceans. At the beach, this has become the new normal, with an ever-increasing number of masks washing ashore constantly. A lot of the trash that people find on the ground ends up in the sewers, canals, and eventually ends up in our oceans. It is a sad situation. It is estimated that 1.5 billion face masks will eventually accumulate in the ocean, contributing to nearly 6,500 tons of additional waste. We all need to be aware that we can discourage people from disposing of all the trash, including the dreaded old used masks. And really, who wants to see them, or worse, touch them? It's just not good. Taking personal responsibility is everyone's job, no matter what. So it's up to all of us, you and me and everyone, to make our towns, cities, and communities livable again. And we can. And let me mention again that there are many champions that are taking up the cause that Jane Jacobs left behind, where Jane Jacobs fought for public spaces and places that would be an oasis for your senses, breathing in air, talking to people, even strangers, going to meet friends in restaurants, and tasting great food, seeing that person in front of you instead of the ground, and hearing playful laughter and happy and enlightening talk. That was her dream, and so it is mine too. This is what she always wanted. Everyone, despite identity, race, or cultural divide, will have a better existence, seeing life as a continuum of togetherness. The focus is what the world needs right now, thinking about public space, community engagement, design, and city planning. We want to come together in our neighborhoods, our towns, and our cities. In our hearts, that is the one thing we all have in common. And on the Congress for the New Urbanism website, there's this. Millennials, perhaps maybe that's you, preferred to live with a smaller yard in a walkable town or city or community. So let's champion walkable places where we can all hang out, free of any negative, fearful feelings. We can create socially good, economically robust, environmentally resilient, people-centered places. And get this, it's already starting to change. City officials in New York proposed remaking a handful of 15-minute neighborhoods. Well, what's that? It's a place where all residents live within a short walking distance of a good school, rapid transportation, and a place to buy fresh food, and a park. Fresh air and lovely views galore are what I'm pining for. Hey, that rhymed. Small local businesses in your communities, your towns, and your cities need and crave help. We all can make a difference. Go into those mom-and-pop businesses, as Jane Jacobs would call them. It's true, the local merchants help your hometown infrastructure. And if we all want to see our communities flourish, this is important. You can start by buying local and not online. But first, today, let us all start with the first step. And what is that? Well, let's go outside and lift our heads high in appreciation to see the fresh colors that spring brings. Enjoy taking a deep, cool breath, and if only for a moment, be calm, restful, loving, and kind to yourself, your neighbors, and your community. The hope that brighter days are ahead is what we all want, and it is already starting to happen. If you enjoyed this episode of Talk Tales and Trivia, that's great, and I love that. Go to talktalesandtrivia.com to get to all my episodes, my show notes, and guess what? There's a little bio on me if you're wondering what I'm all about. And if you liked Talk Tales and Trivia, you may like my second podcast, Growing Uncomfortable. Go to growinguncomfortable.com to get to all my episodes, my show notes, and that bio on me is there if you're wondering what I'm all about. One more thing I have to say is that subscribe and follow Talk Tales and Trivia and Growing Uncomfortable. It will give you the notifications of when new episodes come out, and that is so cool. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Talk Tales and Trivia, and I will catch you later. Okay, bye-bye.